And the second person to be screened, just took a bow. That is the former governor of Rivers State, Mr. Nyesom Wike. The second person to be screened at this ministerial screening. And the third person is about to be announced.
Full serve.
About to be screened right now by the senators here at the Senate chambers is Professor Joseph Usev, the nominee from Benue State. He's been brought into the holding area in the front of the makeshift chamber, and he'll be making his way into the council chambers real soon, just so the screening can commence.
Sergeant Adams. Senator Baribe. Senator Baribe. Senator Baribe. If there is a delay, if the person is from Abia, please climb the stage so we can finish. Prof. Joseph Utsef, can you just give the Senate a brief resume of yourself, and then thereafter, senators have a right to ask you questions.
The President of the Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ibrahim Jibril Barau, all other principal officers present, senators from my dear Benue State, Senator Dr. Titus Tatengizam, Senator Emmanuel Udende, and Senator Abba Maru. Other distinguished senators here present. Mr. President, sir, I wish to begin by thanking the Almighty God for this opportunity to be here in this great chamber to appear before you as a ministerial nominee. I also thank the Almighty God for the privilege and the opportunity given to me to appear before you people. I also thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who finds me worthy and nominated me to appear before you and to serve in his cabinet. Distinguished senators, I am very, very honored to appear before you for the screening as a ministerial nominee. My name, Engineer Professor Joseph Telumun Utsev. I was born into the family of Utsevaka from Buruko local government area of Benue State in 1982. In 1980, I went to St. John's Primary School, Boko. I also furthered my education at Sekwa Comprehensive Secondary School at Dikpo. I got where I came out with senior certificates in a certificate. I furthered my education at University of Agriculture, Makurdi, in the Department of Civil Engineering, which I graduated with a second class upper as the best graduate student. I did my NYC in Kaduna with Kaduna State Development and Property Company in 2006. After completion, I was retained as a graduate assistant in the Department of Civil Engineering in the same university, University of Agriculture, Makurdi, Benue State. I furthered my education at University of Nigeria, Nsukka in 2007, where I came out with Masters of Engineering in Water Resources and Environmental Engineering, graduated in 2007. I furthered my education in the same university in 2009 and graduated in 2011 with a PhD in Water Resources and Environmental Engineering. In 2013, I was appointed Deputy Director, Center for Entrepreneurship in the same university, and I was confirmed full director 2014 as Director, Center for Entrepreneurship in the same university from 2014 to 2017. In 2017, I was appointed Honorable Commissioner for Water Resources and Environment in Benue State from 2017 to 2018. I returned back to the university where I've been lecturing and supervising undergraduate and postgraduate projects. In the year 2020, I was appointed by the former president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, as Executive Director Engineering at Lower Benue River Basin, Makurdi. I was there 2020. In the year 2021, I was also appointed the Pioneer Rector of Federal Polytechnic, one in Benue State, where I've been till now. In the Polytechnic, it was a new Polytechnic which we work to bring up structures. And as I am speaking now, we have started session and lectures have earnestly commenced. That is where I am at the moment. I greet this distinguished tenure for listening. Thank you all.
Distinguished colleagues, I must emphasize that the last nominee we screened, the reason why we did not need to ask too many questions is because we already have his record in the Senate. He had appeared before the Senate and was screened and was appointed a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So his record is with us, outside being a governor. So we only asked him to let us know what he had done as governor. So we have that record. But this is a fresh nominee, and it will be important for Nigerians to know more about him. So I don't know, so I'll be roving my hand. I'll go to the left and then to the right. So we start with distinguished Senator Darlington. You want to start first? Let Darlington start as the leader. Benue will have a chance.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate and their colleagues. My name is Darlington Nwokocha. I represent the entire Nigeria, but Abia Central in particular. Mr. Senate President, acting as chair, I want to ask one question to Engineer Professor Joseph Usef. Professor, I know that we have too many incidences of ocean surge and flood, a whole lot in Nigeria. And from your resume, I can see that you have too many things that have to do with water. Please, I want to find out, have you ever in any way carried out a research that must have provided you with a pilot project on or simulation on how to harvest water for irrigation and some other things instead of wasting those things, the water, or channeling it into somewhere that will not be used? Do you know about water harvesting for irrigation and things like that?
Distinguished Senator Abiru.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting in as the chairman of the Senate, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Mukahil Adetokunbo Abiru, and I represent the good people of Lagos East. Professor, first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you on your nomination, and I also join my colleagues too in congratulating you as well. Now, my own question will be very simple, and it will have to do with your biodata. I just want clarifications around your biodata. Now, on the very first page, page 1, you said you were born on the 2nd of December, 1980. Now, looking further down, you attended St. John's Primary School, Boko. You just wrote 1989. I'm wondering whether you finished primary school in 1989, which will suggest that you either started primary school at the age of 3 or 2 for you to finish in 1989. That's one. Two, you also claim that you went to SEPA Secondary School. You put 1995. That will also suggest, so I don't know with the band whether it was 1989 to 1995. But what is also what will appear a bit distorted for me, which I also need clarification for, is that given your academic excellence, from you graduated in 2004, meaning that you probably will have spent almost 9 years for your first degree. I just need you to clarify those data. hope you understand, starting from primary school to why it took you that long to also get your first degree despite the academic brilliance that you have exhibited. Thank you, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues. Thank you.
Yeah, Prof.
Mr. President of Senate and distinguished senators, the first question is on water harvesting and reuse, whether I have conducted any research on that. Yes, I've conducted several researches on water harvesting and reuse. One, we look at harvesting process of water harvesting. One, we harvest water from rainfall. We harvest water from water that comes, the wastewater that comes out of our homes or different sources, and we treat it for reuse. Why are we doing this? Water is life, and water, we don't encourage wastage of water. So what we now do is that the water that the runoff that comes that will cause flooding or that will cause nuisance to the environment, to the society, we put it into use by one, treating it, two, by reusing it. The water that we harvest from rainfall, it is given further treatment. It can either be used in that state for different purposes. For example, if you want to use it for irrigation, you can use it direct without treatment. But if you want to use it for maybe for in case in drinking or cooking, you treat it further to abate that other bacteria or other viruses that will be find themselves in the water. For example, now the wastewater that comes out of our toilets or other waste sources, we treat it, we collect it, we treat it, and we now channel it into irrigation or other purposes like washing of roads. If we go to other Western countries, roads are being washed. We use such water for washing of cars and other things that are not to be, maybe for example now, you cannot use such water for drinking. If you want to use it for drinking, that means you have to subject it to further treatment. We have different levels of treatment. We have the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary level of treatment. So for economy purpose, if you want to use reuse water that comes out of your waste sources, you just suggest it to primary treatment. Primary treatment is where you maybe through filtration and a little touch of bacterial removers, then you use it for irrigation, because some of the materials that are there that are helpful for our crops. So we suggest it to only primary treatment so that we can reuse it. But for example, now if we want to use this water for drinking or other purposes, you have to suggest it for further treatment. So that is what we have been doing over time. So there are several researches that we have conducted. I think my CVs is there. If you can look at it, you can see some of the researches that we have conducted. Then the second question that talks about my biodata. Yes, I went to primary school in the year 1984. The year 1989 was when I got my first living certificate. And the last listing is the years, pardon? I started in 1984, 1985, 1986, 1984, 1985, 1986, pardon? 1984, 1985, 1986, 1987, 1988, and 1989. That was when I passed out with first school living certificate. Primary school. I'm talking about primary school. Then I further my secondary school in 1990. Yes, secondary school in 1990. 1990, 1991, 92, 93, 94, 95. That is when I got my SSCE. That's when I got my SSCE. Then I graduated in 2004. Yes, what happens that I was actually supposed to pass out in 2003, but there was a prolonged strike. If you can remember, there was a prolonged strike by ASU. Then I did a 5-year program in engineering, which I was supposed to stay there for 5 years. But because of the prolonged strike, I spent 6 years for the program. That is why I graduated in 2004.
Prof, the question was, you were born in 1980, and you had your first school leaving certificate in 1989. That means that you, at the period you should have been in nursery school, at the age of 4 years, you were already in primary 1. You were already in primary 1. Which state was this? Well, so the nominee was born in 1980, and the nominee graduated with first school leaving certificate in 1989. So the nominee is exceptionally brilliant. The nominee was 3 years old when he started his primary education, and he proceeded to do 6 years. He proceeded to do, the nominee started his primary education at the age of 3 and was able to finish 6 years later in 1989. And it's possible that the nominee was a classmate of Senator Obamoro. So let's hear from Senator Obamoro whether he also started his own primary school at the age of 3.
Sir, and I want to believe that standards that are applied to nominees that appear before this hallowed chamber will also apply to Professor Ussef. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, looking at the resume that we have of Professor Ussef, I think ordinarily that the discrepancies that you find in the times enumerated here may necessarily have come from typographical errors, which Professor Ussef himself, which he can explain. So I want to say at this point, therefore, that records don't lie. Records don't lie. And if you look at what we have here about qualifications and the explanations he has given, I think we must be prepared to give him the benefit of doubt. And so, my distinguished colleagues, I want to say that at this point, that Professor Joseph has sufficiently explained himself and the records are there to show. But I have a point that I want to make here, Mr. President. In your answer to the point of order raised by our colleagues earlier, without prejudice to my support for Professor Joseph, I want to say that I come from a part of Benue State that is a minority. I want to say, therefore, that while I'm appealing to my colleagues to approve the nomination, to confirm the nomination of Professor Joseph, that looking at the configuration of our system and in ruling on the point of order, constitutional point of order that was raised, you indicated that Mr. President is going to bring more names. I want to say, therefore, and place it on record, that in bringing more names, especially from Benue State, that a name that will come should come from the Benue South Senatorial District to complement our effort at creating unity in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for allowing me to make this comment.
Distinguished colleagues, we have a lot of nominees to take today. So we will like Prof, because as a professor, to go and take a look at his certificates. And you were not his classmate now. So you were not his classmate. Is a Prof should look in case there are typographical errors.
Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, point of order.
Senator. I think so. Senator Zam. Senator Zam, point of order.
Mr. President, order 42. Order. Mr. President, I am speaking on order 42. My name is Distinguished Senator Dr. Titus Tatengizam. I represent the good people of Benue Northwest Senatorial District. And I'm coming on order 42, personal explanation. Mr. President, there is no discrepancy. The order is by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate. Mr. President, I'll stop at that. I am also from Benue. The professor standing there is from my own senatorial district. Mr. President, there is no controversy or any discrepancies about the academic qualifications of the nominee before us, sir. The dates fall in line.
Distinguished colleagues, nobody is fighting with anybody. If you have your PhD, it is your PhD. Nobody's going to take it from you. We have two stages here. The first stage is screening before we go into confirmation. At the stage of screening, you have a right to ask any question. So you ask your questions the gray areas, let us note them down so that the nominee can answer those questions and go. When we go down to the other stage of screening, of confirmation, we can now take a holistic look at all the things that were put forward before us. Even if, Senator Zam, there's no way you can lobby the Deputy Senate President on this. So let us... the civil senator, on this particular issue, on this particular question, on the question of when he entered school and when he finished school, I would not entertain any further question on that. I would rather want you to talk, asking questions on other issues, because Senator Abba Moro has just drawn my attention to something that is very interesting, which it is the nominee probably will clear in the course of discussions. Is there any senator from Benue State that would like to say something? Senator Dende.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, my name is Emmanuel Memga Udendi. I represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District. From the Benue caucus, we have no issues with the nominee. He has done so well in all his assignment. And so, urge my colleagues to pass him irrespective of minor mistakes. That is our submission.
No mistake. No mistake. It's not a mistake. He can ask
Senator Yari.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I remain Abdulaziz Abubakar Yari. I represent people of Zamfara West, Mr. President, and from Zamfara State. My question to the professor, from what I read, your CB, it seems like a country.
Thank you and best wishes.
Yes. Your mic. Senator Abu. Senator Abu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting at chair. My name is Senator Ishaku Abo. I represent the good people of Adamawa North. First of all, our nominee from Benue State. You see, some people don't understand certain things. To clear air of you going into finishing primary school or entering primary school at the age of 3, let me tell you a personal story. I sat for common entrance examination when I was in primary 3, and I won. Because I was exceptionally brilliant, I passed. It's all the same, winning and passing are all the same. So the question of you entering primary school at the age of 3 did not arise. But where did you finish? And at what level did you start for your common interest exam? You may be like me, exceptionally brilliant. So we have cleared that because you are on national television. I don't want people to go home thinking that your integrity is being called to question. You are a professor in this country and have done exceptionally well for the university to make you a professor. Now my question is this. Any country that continues to rely on rainfall, rainwater, to cultivate crops and to feed a booming population like Nigeria, will have food crisis. When you talk of insecurity, the most dangerous insecurity is food insecurity. When there's no food, there will be insecurity. A hungry man is an angry man. If you look at Nigeria's land size, from number 1 to number 21 is all states in northern Nigeria. Apart from Oyo, in number 14, with 20,454 square kilometers land size, and Cross River at number 19, with about 20,000 square kilometers. They entail from number 1 to number 21, northern Nigeria. Now there is desert encroachment. Rain is no longer falling as it used to be because of human activities. How do you intend to create dams so that we will not continue to rely on rainwater and use the opportunity of this vast land size in the north to feed our booming population? Thank you so much.
Distinguished senators, you may agree with me that several questions, so many questions have been put forward to him. Please, can you allow him to answer some of these questions? He has been here for quite a long time. Summarize your answers.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, distinguished senators. Basically, the 4 questions raised are all hinged on one thing. The 3 questions brought before are all hinged on. I want to summarize. What I want to say is that are all talking about improving food production through irrigation. They're all talking about improving food production through irrigation. Now, in places, the third speaker was asking questions and giving answers at the same time. When we are talking about irrigation farming, we're talking about artificial supply of water to our crops. Now, with the construction of dams, drilling on boreholes, because there are some certain areas where dams cannot be constructed. In that case, we have what is called inland drilling. We call them inland drilling. They provide the waters for dry season. We're talking about dry season. Now, we are talking about flooding now. Like, for example, River Benue. River Benue is heavily seated. And that is one of the reasons why we are having flooding in the country. So, if I am given a ministry, we will liaise with ministries of transportation, agriculture, and other ministries to see how we can cool the menace of flooding by way of either try to see how we can dredge this river. By dredging this river, it will cool the menace of flooding and as well provide the water for the irrigation. So that will solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nominee, for providing enough answers to the questions that have been raised. You can bow and go, and then if there's anything, we'll get back to you. You can bow and go.
And that's the very first grilling session that we've seen at today's screening of ministerial nominees. Professor Joseph Usev, a renowned civil and water engineer, academic, politician, also an entrepreneur. He was, he's actually from Brook local government area of Benue State, and a lot of conversations have been had around